Here is the judgment of Muhammad and the influence of his doctrine, made by one of his historians, Mr. G, while in his German work entitled Muhammad der Prophet, pages 400 and following, the doctrine of God and the holy destinies of man, preached by Muhammad in a country given over to the most brutal idolatry, and which had only an idea of the immortality of the soul, should all the more reconcile us to him, despite his weaknesses and faults, because his private life could not exert any deplorable influence on his followers. Far from ever setting himself as a model, he always wanted to be regarded as a privileged being whom God permitted to rise above the common law, and, in fact, he was increasingly considered in this special light. We would be unjust and blind if we did not recognize that his people owe him yet another true and good thing, and that he united to him into a single great nation, believing fraternally in God, the innumerable tribes of the Arabs, until then enemies among themselves. In place of the most violent arbitrary rule, the right of force and individual struggle, he placed an unshakable right which, despite its imperfections, has always formed the basis of all the laws of Islam. He limited the blood revenge that, before him, extended to the most distant relatives, and limited it to the only one whom the judges recognized as a murderer. He earned much, especially from the fair sex, not only by protecting his children against the atrocious custom that often made them sacrifice themselves for their fathers, but also by protecting women against their husbands' relatives, who inherited them as if they were material property, and by defending them against the ill treatment of men. He restricted polygamy, allowing believers only 4 legitimate wives instead of 10, as was the custom, especially in Medina. Without entirely emancipating the slaves, he was good and useful to them in many ways. For the poor, he not only always recommended beneficence in their regard, but formally established a tax in their favor and gave them a special share in the spoils and tribute. By prohibiting gambling, wine, and all intoxicating drinks, he prevented many vices, many excesses, many quarrels, and many disorders.